something we're pretty excited about at board level, and we've gone through the last few months looking at how do we look at making investments in R&D, where do we really prioritise our resources, and things, being Speckle Park International, being a relatively small genetic company, it's sometimes a little bit difficult to work out what direction we need to do, but also what lead time KPI gives us the best return on investment or bang for buck. So this presentation, obviously, Speckle Park Signature Beef Challenge, we've been through a consultation period, and it's still really early in its form, and this is the first time that I've presented this presentation, so if I don't do it justice, I apologise, but there's a lot to be said around going down this path, and it's a really exciting journey that we've been on in recent time. So really what we're doing, and this is still in its working form, so we've landed on a name at the moment, Signature Speckle Park Beef Challenge, and so it's still working form. We're not completely landed on any of the concepts on any of this, but it's just something that we want to give you the idea and work through the processes as we go through the next little period, but just give you a really good understanding of where we've been working. So the Signature Beef Challenge is obviously a judged event looking at Speckle Park beef industry independently assessed for eating quality, tenderness and flavour, amongst many other things. And what we want to do is provide a credible way of demonstrating our breed, premium credentials, benchmarking, performance across different production systems. And so as we go through the slides, we'll sort of unpack what this means in a competition standpoint. We look at the why now. We know that the consumer's looking for more demand, traceability, high quality beef. We know the relationships and the stories are a really critical part of the journey. It's a great opportunity to benchmark Speckle Park, and it really aligns with our strategic plan and moving the breed forward in an eating quality aspect. But what is interesting, and it's a really difficult one, when you talk about valued supply chains, where is the role that Speckle Park International fits into the supply chain? And it's really difficult. We are to be the neutral person of interest, and if you look at a website, we've got around 50 of those that are selling Speckle Park beef on the website, and that commercial relationship's not a place that we really need to get into, but we want to be the associate and remain neutral to support all members fairly. And so we're not here in the aspect of the competition to promote beef, but we are to identify the best genetics when it comes to eating quality through this competition. So why does the competition matter? It gives us the ability to give us greater insight to paddock to plate, stronger industry partnerships with chefs, processors, branded beef collaborators and those. So if we look, and we'll talk about the judging concept a little bit later, but if you look at who you can involve in, and I'll talk about the Wagyu competition in a little bit, and that will sort of unpack the exposure, the perception that Speckle Park comes from this opportunity. Proven premium positioning, so we want to make sure that we, backed by premium value claims, data, revealing key traits, shape eating quality, guide long-term breed development. And so not just by having a barbecue and eating meat, really putting robust data behind the positioning of Speckle Park beef in a real premium product. We understand that future branded beef products at Speckle Park isn't there yet, but this is a starting point for us to look to the future and where those branded products and pathways can evolve, and really focused the breed towards that next phase of our journey. Keep pressing that. So if we look at the Wagyu branded beef, and from a breed's perspective, it's currently the only competition that is actually run by a breed society on their own basis. When they started their breed competition, there was 14 entries, and now there's over 100 different entries from branded products that enter that competition. And what their competition looks like today compared to what it started was very, very different, and that's a similar concept of where we think we have to start with. We won't get it perfect in the first year, but we will certainly look to getting a lot of knowledge from other competitions and leapfrog a lot of information. So we've actually consulted with a head chef out of this competition, and he's a willing participator to help us build the program moving forward. We've also consulted with the head judge, Alex Ball, as well recently to get his insight and pull this together. So we've gone down that path, and when we look down at other ones, obviously the Royal Queensland Awards at the RNA, we know that Minnamurra has done well for many, many years. And how do we take those competitions and the aspects that are really positive for Speckle Park out of those competitions and put them into something we can do? And then we obviously look at the Sydney Royal Easter Show, branded product that processors love to be involved in these competitions. You've got the World Steak Challenge, very successful challenge that really focused on eating quality, that we believe that gives us great opportunity insight. So what does this mean? So that's a bit of an overview. So we're still looking at these competitions to prove the appetite and structure of branded beef quality, beef context in our region, specifically in Australia and New Zealand, which we've recently learned that both countries would be able to participate in a competition in Australia. So the class structures, we're looking at different aspects of what the classes should be to highlight the benefits of Speckle Park. Judging criteria will be complex, that it will look at appearance, packaging, it will take in obviously eating quality, sensory testing, all those sort of things to go into that, and that's got to be built, and we're going to consultate with outside industry, outside of Speckle Park, to build the best platform for that. There will be requirements, obviously, the food safety, there's some elements in that we have to be aware of, where it's processed, and I'll just give you a little key things around some of the entry points. Obviously, feedback in entrance is really critical, so the results, the information that you receive back to make better genetic decisions is really a good, great opportunity for identifying the best genetics when it comes to Speckle Park beef. And then it gives us the opportunity to do marketing promotion. What we've realised in the last little period is we need a bigger portfolio of photos of Speckle Park beef to be able to then leverage across the wider industry. These competitions give us the ability to just do that on an annual basis and really focus on the meat quality side of it. And so packing all this stuff into one competition gives us a really great opportunity to propel the breed in a premium eating quality position. If we looked at the classes and the unique positions, we as Speckle Park breeders understand that what the unique benefits and our selling point and our point of difference are, and we can really set up our classes or our targets to programs like shorter days on feed. So instead of having an unrestricted class, and this is really just a concept, we could max it at 150 days because we want to expose the best eating quality animal at a more efficient times on feed. We want to look at tenderness, unique value propositions. We do want to look at grass and grain fed. Wagyu is only grain fed, so they don't have the opportunity to, and wasn't very successful having a grass fed Wagyu as part of their competition. So our goal is to launch the Speckle Park beef competition in 2026. So there's a fair bit of work to get this from a concept into reality. There's a lot of work to be done. We have made the decision to move forward, and hence why we've probably made the decision to invest in some external professionals to help us design and build the competition so that we can really move quickly in a short period of time. Elevating the breed, driving profitability. So we want to make sure that we're building credibility with processors, chefs and consumers. And I talked about the judges. So if we look at a sensory eating competition, you need about 8 judges for X amount of entries. And so to give you an idea, the Wagyu competition has over 100 entries and they're going to have 40 judges. And that list of judges gives you the opportunity to invite strategic people within the beef industry, who are then exposed to Speckle Park beef. So you could have processors, chefs, producers, you name it, key people across the supply chain that will be invited as guests to be judged through that format. The outcome, a competition that celebrates the excellence reveals traits that drive profitability, eating quality, downstream value from paddock to processing to packaging beef. We know that through this process there'll be a lot of education and learning for breeders, members, those selling Speckle Park beef, not only from the eating quality but also really understanding what it's like to package beef correctly and how the chefs and how the food service expect that the product should be packed. And so from year 1 to year 5 there'll be a lot of different learnings that everybody that's involved with the challenge that will learn along the way. We can, through this process, collect genetic carcass feeding data as a guide for breeding decisions. So as samples are submitted or a strip line is submitted, we would take the opportunity then, as part of the scoring and judging process, do DNA testing in greater context. So ideally we'd love to fold in MSA index, fat melting point, omega-3s and fatty acids, and those part of the DNA testing as part of the process of those entries. And obviously then there's a sensory evaluation. So part of the judges, as an entry, you'll get feedback on that eating experience. So that's a really good indication. It gives you a highlight, and I think when you listened to Jake last night, he really highlights the experience from a consumer and a chef's point of view, and their sensory evaluation does the same sort of thing and puts it into a results-driven challenge. I guess the risk, and when you look at it, investing or any projects that we're looking at, we need to understand the risks. One is if we don't do it. One is if we don't, it's a huge missed opportunity to tell our story as the new age beef of the industry. We'll have reduced visibility, so we need to be sure that this gives us the ability to tell our story in a more professional way. We do understand that limited availability and supply is going to be a big issue as we go forward. So those that are in the competition need to understand that if you win, there could be creating demand, and it could give you a lot of exposure. Fewer benchmarking competitions, it's getting more and more expensive to collect data, and specifically in traits that are hard to measure. And so this is a really good opportunity for us to do a cost-effective competition focusing on key attributes of Speckle Park. So if we looked at the classes, and this is just really just think tank stage around possibility, but this is probably where we're heading. Grass-fed, grain-fed, purebred and crossbred categories. Keep it fairly simple and robust for the first time. We won't have too many classes. Judging entries will be assessed through both scientific testing, blind sensory testing, so those entries, no one will know who they are, and you'll get really good feedback. And give you an example, you would submit a strip loin, and it would be the whole strip loin, and then it's measured correctly around where those cuts and those stakes that are used through the strip loin, so that every sample is exactly the same, to create consistency in the challenge. So there'd be all the samples, to be slaughtered within 28 days, sent to one facility, and then obviously the butcher is involved, or professional kitchens are involved to keep it all the same. That just gives you a bit of an insight what it would possibly look like. It's not necessarily sending a Scotch fillet or a sausage. It's a whole primal cut that typically that's how supply chains work. Feedback to entrants I've touched on already. MSA will be optional, we think, at this stage, because there's probably a lot of animals that will be entered through paddock to plate competitions that aren't being assessed by MSA, but potentially that could be something we would add into the requirement down the track as we grow and develop. But at this stage, that's going to be a little bit difficult. And so we look at building engagement, brand visibility. So beyond that, position Speckle Park, domestic export markets as a premium eating quality. Encourage collaborations with chefs, butchers and processors, and that's a really big standpoint. You can imagine if we had 40 Jake Firsts in the room trying Speckle Park beef at the high-end quality, and the impact that can drive through the supply chain is really, really positive for our breed. It opens opportunity for sponsorship, partnerships, and I think last night was a good indication that we've got service providers coming into our tent, wanting to be a part of it, and we've got to really build those relationships, and we see the challenge to be a positive way of building those supply chain relationships. Our outcome, a respected annual benchmark with a marketing platform that promotes Speckle Park beef worldwide, strengthening both brand awareness and commercial opportunities. Next steps is develop a competition structure, judging framework. So we will be going through that process very shortly. We will engage producers, processors, supply chain partners and sponsors once we've gone through those steps, and once we've basically done the challenge design, we'll complete, that gives us the opportunity to engage. And obviously that engagement includes making sure those already selling Speckle Park beef want to be a part of the challenge. We will be developing a breeder-led steering committee within SPI, and that will be, at the moment it's been sitting with the board and breed development, and it will probably likely to be in that space. And so we will get to that point very quickly in the next little while. And then, but we also, as we move along, have to understand risk, food safety. If there's an issue around food safety, and it potentially puts the board at risk around if something happens to someone's health. And so, but we really understand that the risk of not done it accurately and governance with integrity is also a big, big challenge. And so we know that we've got to move down this path, but we've got to do it correctly. Our commitment to this competition is elevate the breed's reputation through verified eating quality data, gather meaningful insights to support genetics and production improvement, drive commercial value for members through recognition and brand exposure. Our vision is to establish Speckle Park Signature Beef Challenge as a cornerstone of breed promotion, connecting science, story, eating quality, and a flagship event that is seen across the industry as a key component of the annual platform of Speckle Park. So I hope that gives you a bit of an insight. There's a lot of information when you get behind the scenes and open the curtains around making this competition come to fruition. We're pretty excited about it because once you start talking to those that have been involved with Wagyu and other competition, there's a lot of information, and there's really keen appetite for those people to be involved. Very positive. Some have eaten Speckle Park, some haven't eaten it for a little while, some of them want to eat more of it, and I really highly commend the breed on